This video is the video I wish I had watched half a year ago when I first started traveling to India. Because India, in my opinion, is one of the countries with the highest learning curve when you travel there for the first time. Within our 6 months of traveling in India, my girlfriend Erin and I did a lot of mistakes and we learned a lot of stuff. So when you even remotely think about traveling to India, I promise you that watching this video until the end is going to be a big game changer. It's going to help you have a much easier time than us, and you're going to save a lot of money. So the question I was asked the most by my friends and myself before traveling to India was, first, how much does it cost to travel India for a couple of months? And second, is it even safe for travelers to travel India? I want to give you the quick answer to the safety question, because in my opinion, India is one of the safest countries in the entire world if you stick to a couple of principles that I'm going to share with you later in this video. But first, let's talk about the money question, about the budget. You can travel to India very, very cheaply as long as you're willing to give up a little bit of your Western comfort. By cheap, I mean for me and my girlfriend as a couple, it was pretty realistic that we would travel for less than $1,000 per month, which compared to many Western countries, it's very, very cheap. We found that for pretty much everything, there is a touristy version, but then there's also a very cheap local version of it. And as long as you stick to the local version, you will be able to travel for very cheap. Like, for example, the local buses, the accommodation, the restaurants, the snacks. And the more you get used to think like a local, the cheaper you can travel. I will talk about all of the following points in depth at a later part of this video, but I want to give you a quick overview about at least the 3 big buckets of budget that you should think about: accommodation, transport, and food. First, accommodation. For us as a couple, it was realistic to spend around like $300 to $400 per month. For transport, obviously it differs a lot depending on like how much you travel and like where you want to go, or if you have to do a visa run. But let's just assume $2 per day per person for now, like $120 per month. As for food, if you know what to look for, you can definitely get a good meal for like about $2 to $4. You can go for even less. So let's assume like $300 to $400 per month for a couple. And other expenses like SIM cards for calls and mobile data are very, very cheap too. So just a couple of bucks. And of course, medical insurance, all the stuff that you need to do to feel safe, that's on you to calculate. So yeah, assume whatever you want to pay there. So one quick thing, I would really recommend to visit India with a backpack. Like this is my 40-liter backpack. And then I also have a small day bag that also fits in the big backpack. So I would definitely recommend traveling by backpack, because you've probably seen a lot of images from India. Like there's not that many like proper roads. So having a suitcase is definitely going to hold you back. So bring a good 40-liter backpack and you're going to be fine. All right, let's start with our first point, and that is the visa. You have to go through an entire visa process before even traveling to India. When you're applying for a visa, it's smart to apply for a 5-year visa right away, because chances are you want to go back to India after you've been there for the first time, and it's gonna make it much easier for you in the future. There are 2 videos that I want to recommend right here. I watched these videos and they really helped me to go through the process, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. So the only thing that I learned during the visa process is that for the portrait photo that you have to put in and for the scan of your passport, you really, really have to make sure to meet the size and file requirements that they ask for, because the platform is not the best one. It's definitely not made recently. So you really, really have to make sure that your size is correct, so that the process actually works. So the portrait picture, you don't really have to think too much about it. Like they don't really need crazy quality. It's just really important that you make sure that you have the right sizing and the right file. So you just take a simple picture of a headshot of you. And after you took the picture, to compress it, you can, for example, just send it to a friend via, for example, WhatsApp. Or me and my girlfriend, we used KakaoTalk, which is kind of the Korean WhatsApp. And then it's automatically gonna shrink down the size, compress it. And this new picture you can use for the visa application platform. Like I said in the beginning, if I had to do the visa process again, I would apply for a 5-year visa right away. mostly because I definitely, after traveling India for 6 months, I definitely want to come back. And yeah, next time I have to sign up again, and that's annoying. So I wish I would have gone for the 5-year. As a little tip, there is also a so-called medical visa. So if you have like some medical condition that you could actually have like some medical treatment in India, I don't know what exactly that would be, but if you are able to contact a doctor in India and you can have this medical treatment, then you can apply for this medical visa, which has a couple more benefits than the normal tourist visa. Because, for example, you don't have to do a visa run and these kinds of things. If it applies for you, research about it and yeah, go for it. The topic, access to money. In India, I have to say, cash is absolutely king. There's no way around it. If you're used to like Apple Pay, Google Pay, using your credit card all of the time, like you do in Western countries, that's just not how India works. In India, cash works everywhere. And if you don't want to use cash, the only option is to use a so-called UPI. India, in my experience, is the country with the most person-to-person transactions. And a lot of those transactions are even going to be smaller than like 10 cents or so. And so you need a lot of those like super small cash bills. And I don't know how true that is, but I could absolutely imagine that one banknote is going to change its owner like 100 times per day. So they are going to be really worn out. But yeah, it works. So you absolutely have to have cash. So how do you get cash? Getting cash, like in many countries, it's quite easy. There are a lot of ATMs. I would recommend just looking up ATM on Google Maps and then look for whatever is closest to you. I personally use both Wise and Revolut, and they both worked for me in India. No financial advice, but I can recommend those as a traveler. And within these accounts, I already exchanged a lot of my euros, because like I'm from Germany, I have euros. I exchanged them to Indian rupees, and these Indian rupees I can easily withdraw from an Indian ATM. I personally found that the brand called SBI, which stands for States Bank of India, worked best for me. I did not have any extra fees there, only the withdrawal fees from my cards, at least after I hit like 2 or 3 free withdrawals per month. But the cost for getting cash is still pretty low, maybe around like 1% or so. I found that other than SBI, a couple of other banks took a extra withdrawal fee, usually in between like 200 to 500 rupees, which is like $3, $4, $5, $6, which I guess is fair, but I would just rather not pay for it. Don't add that extra cost. One thing to note that is a little bit inconvenient about ATMs in India is that usually there is a limit on how much cash you can withdraw. For most ATMs that I found, it was 10,000 rupees, around about $100, $120. So with that limit, we ended up sometimes having to withdraw like 2-3 times in one session. Has some extra fees associated with it. But yeah, as a foreigner, you can't really get around that. But other than these little inconveniences, I never really had any trouble with ATMs. The other option that is not cash is called UPI, which stands for Universal Payment Interface. And you can basically think of that like a QR code that you can scan on the phone, and then you can wire the money to the vendor. And even buying bananas on the street is going to be possible via UPI. I personally didn't sign up for any UPI app because it was not necessary. Like I said, cash is king. And as long as you have cash, you don't really need any other options. But of course, like carrying cash can sometimes be a little bit intimidating or like is inconvenient because you have to take out so much of it from the ATM. So if you want to sign up for it, you can do it. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of these UPI apps are not really intended for foreigners, at least as of the moment right now. Maybe if you watch this video in the future, like it might be easier already. As of right now, you cannot sign up for UPI at the major banks of India. Those only provided to Indian citizens. As a foreigner, you have to go for a couple of rather new apps that are also a little bit more heavy on the fees side. So yeah, keep that in mind. A couple of other foreigners that I got to know were recommending to me an app called Money. So MONY without the E. And I've heard that it's quite a handy tool, and they were like absolutely amazed how well it works. But then at the same time, when you want to add money to that account, you have to pay a certain fee of a couple %, and that just makes everything a little bit more expensive. And like I said, cash is king. Like, you don't really need the UPIs. Just decide for yourself whether that's worth or not. Okay, let's talk about accommodation. The one thing you're going to spend most of your money for. Hotels are fine. You will find them easily on Google Maps, all the apps you use everywhere else, like Agoda, like Booking.com. They will work in India too. I can just give you the advice, filter a lot. I personally type in the word lodging into Google Maps, then see what comes up, and then put a couple of the filters in terms of price and rating. But whenever you can, I would recommend to not go with the hotels, but rather go with homestays instead, because that's just normal people renting out a room in their home. And the benefits of staying in a homestay is that it's usually cheaper for better quality. And at the same time, like, you're actually living with normal people, not with hotel staff. It's easier to get a good deal and talk to those people. When looking for accommodation, I would recommend not to book anything in advance. If you feel okay with that, just go to a couple of homestays, ask them for the price, ask them to show you the room, and then decide whatever homestay you think works best for you. As with many things in India, the prices are never really fixed. So if you have a look at a couple of homestays and talk to the people, you can pretty much always negotiate a little bit of the price. So what we usually did was asking to stay for 3 days first. And then after those 3 days, decide on whether we want to stay longer or not, because of experiencing the city and the room. And usually if you stay for a couple of days and then extend, the owners usually are interested in keeping you and give you a pretty good deal that you wouldn't find on any of the platforms. Also, of course, it's always a good tactic to be very, very polite, very nice, show yourself from the best side. Always tell them how much you love the city, how much you love their room. And if you do that, usually they will maybe give you some extra benefits, or maybe help you get to some places or whatever. Like, it's always better to have a good relationship to the owner. One thing you should know in India, mold is pretty much a big problem everywhere. So when deciding on which room to stay in, make sure you go into the room, you breathe, you feel whether or not the room is moldy. So I would definitely be more picky to choose a room before I pay. And in general, Indian service is not known to be the best service. I would definitely recommend, if anything is off, you should be as annoying as a guest as you can and tell them and give them the chance to correct it, because that's the only way you can make your own experience better. Also, as a quick side note, reviews and pictures of rooms in India are pretty much trash. Like, you really can't rely on them. We found that a lot of, like, even small hotels have thousands of 5-star reviews, and all of those are fake and they are pretty much worth nothing. The room pictures that you find online, a lot of them are just photoshopped, or they are able to create these like amazing looking room pictures, and that's pretty much never reality. So just be aware of that. Like, never expect your room in India to be as good as on the pictures online. If you want to look for reviews, I would recommend to always put the filter on newest and then check only the reviews that have Western names. So like, I don't know, French names, or maybe even like Korean or Chinese names or something like that. Because those are way less likely to be fake. And usually you can rely on those. Even with those, take it with a grain of salt. Always expect that the room is less good than it's portrayed as online. Don't put your hopes too high, and then you're going to be surprised how good it might actually be. As for transport, you have many options. The options that I used the most were walking, train, public or private bus, the auto, tuk-tuk, rickshaw, or scooter rentals. Walking still is the best way to get around. That's just my personal way of traveling. And in my opinion, you only really experience India when you are like on the streets and when you actually like hear everything that's buzzing around you. It can be quite stressful, and it never really stops being stressful. But after a couple of walks, you will get used to it. And even though it's overwhelming, I would still recommend it. Also, public trains in India are absolutely awesome. I really enjoyed taking them. Usually they are pretty cheap. Like you can get around hundreds of kilometers for just a couple of dollars. You can get tickets either online or you just go to the train station and ask them. Every class, like from first class to third class, has its own like uniqueness. So as a traveler, I would recommend you to try all of them. Even the third class, you're going to be surprised like how much fun it is to take the train through India. Then there are also a lot of buses which connect the major cities. And I would absolutely recommend to just go for the public buses because also it's going to cost you very little. And even the bus ride is going to be an experience that you're not going to have in Western countries. When you want to take the bus, you should go to the bus station, just ask around, like just random people. Tell them the city that you want to go to, and they will usually just show you where to take the bus. You don't have to buy a ticket in advance. You just hop on the bus, and there's going to be a bus attendant coming to you and telling you the price, and you can just pay them there. Then sometimes for longer distance traveling or for traveling during the night, it might make sense to go for one of the private buses. And honestly, during our 6 months in India, we only took the private bus like twice. In my opinion, it only makes sense to take the private bus when you need a sleeper bus because you want to make a reservation in advance and you have to be somewhere at a certain time. Then you can just book in advance. And the platform to do so, I would recommend, is called Redbus. Like I said, I used them 2 times and it was always a good experience. So I would recommend that one. And then the mode of transportation that India is probably best known for is the classical yellow tuk-tuk. And those tuk-tuks are pretty much going to be around you all the time, everywhere, like literally everywhere. I personally use tuk-tuks maybe a dozen times, and I personally liked taking them through the app Uber because that's pretty much the only way that the price is going to be fixed in advance. And sometimes I just really didn't feel like negotiating about the transport price. So Uber was kind of like the easy way to do that. Just as a quick note, Uber, especially for tuk-tuks, is not going to be working in every city of India. So just keep that in mind. In general, tuk-tuks are pretty safe. You don't have to fear anything. If the tuk-tuk driver does not behave nice to you, then you can just get out and just get a different one. There's always going to be another one right around the corner. As a last note, there's also bike or scooter rental. You can do that. Usually they are pretty cheap and you only need your passport, like not even necessarily a driver's license. I found personally that I don't really need scooter rentals at all. The only place where I had a scooter was Oroville, and that was only because a friend of mine had to take care of the scooter of his friend. So he gave me his scooter for a couple of days, and then Erin and I could enjoy just riding around with that one. Otherwise, we probably never would have rented a scooter. If you do rent a scooter, just be aware that Indian traffic is just crazy and you really have to get used to it. But then at the same time, it can also be fun for some people. So just try whatever works out for you. Now let's talk about food. And when it comes to food, the magic word that I learned is Thali. Thali pretty much is this concept of a daily cooked home food menu. And it's going to be very, very different depending on where you go. But it's always going to consist of rice and dal and a couple of other like vegetables and maybe chicken and maybe fish or whatever. In my opinion, it's pretty much the best food you can get because usually it's local food. It has a lot of vegetables. It's going to fill you up. And even if you're not full right away, you can ask the waiter to bring you more of like certain parts of the dish. And usually they will do that without any extra price. So thali is definitely a good thing. And whenever I'm in India, I'm going to eat thali. Also, most of the time it's served on a plantain leaf and you're going to eat it with hand. So that's going to be an extra experience if you've never done that before. Other food in India is going to be good too. I would recommend to just ask the waiter whatever is the food that most people eat there, or whatever the food is that the city is like most known for, or the village, or wherever you are. And usually the owners are going to be like super excited to have a foreigner try their favorite dish for the first time. And if you have a genuine conversation with them, tell them where you are from, you show them like some interest in the food, and you maybe even eat it by hand, which is not very typical of foreigners, then they are going to love you. They might want to take pictures with you. They might want to post it on their Instagram. You're definitely going to have a good experience trying local food with them. But if you're not that good with very spicy food, you should ask the owners beforehand whether it's going to be spicy, whether they can make it less spicy, or if it's too spicy for you, you can ask them for extra curd or yogurt, and they will usually provide it so that you can have an easier time eating spicy. And at least we found that whenever we eat like super spicy and we like sweat and just still enjoy the food, the locals are absolutely loving it, and they really like being complimented about their good tasting food, and they will have a good time serving you. When thinking about food, you probably also have to think about water. And I found that before I traveled to India, I was actually quite scared of the water. But in the entire time I was in India, I've never had struggle with any water. I found the water to be pretty safe, and wherever you go, like, you can bring your tumbler and ask the owners of the restaurant to provide you filtered water. And usually they will do it without any extra cost. Also in hotels, usually you will get either bottled water or there will be a water dispenser where you can get water with your tumbler. If you prefer to take bottled water, usually bottled water you can get for a couple of cents, like prices kept by the government. Usually it's going to be around like 20 rupees, which would be about like 25 cents. But the only reason why we usually did not go for bottled water is that we don't really want to produce plastic. Like, we don't really want to have the plastic particles in our water. So just bringing a steel tumbler or aluminum tumbler, I would definitely recommend that. And then there is not only water, there is also chai. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about India, that they have a culture of drinking chai. A lot of times when you walk around on the streets in India, you're going to find those like super small chai places that are run by like some grandpa, and he's probably been doing it for the last 30 years or so. You can just sit down, enjoy a chai. Usually it's going to be very cheap, like 20, 30 cents or so. You can have a nice chat with the owner. You can have a chat with the other people that are drinking chai there. It's wonderful. I would recommend having at least 2 or 3 chai breaks every day when you travel through an Indian city. The same thing goes for coffee. Especially in South India, there's this so-called South Indian coffee, which is served in 2 copper cups. And it's super fun to just like throw the coffee around and make it colder. There's an entire culture behind it, and Indians absolutely love it when you do it as a foreigner. So I would also recommend trying South Indian coffee. It's just a lot of fun. And even the Indian coffee is going to be super cheap. So sometimes only like 20 cents or 40 cents, something like that. And if you feel like it, you can also have a coconut pretty much everywhere you go. On most streets, you're going to find vendors with lots of coconut, and they are going to crack a fresh coconut open for you with a machete or with a big knife. So that's a cool experience too. Usually we found it to be like 40 to 80 cents for a coconut. And after drinking the coconut, the cool thing is that you can always ask the owner to also cut the coconut in half, and then you can just spoon out the jelly. That way you can drink the coconut and then also eat the jelly, which I absolutely love. So drink a lot of coconuts, eat a lot of jelly. It's definitely a good way to stay hydrated. And the good thing is that because the coconut is fresh and it's coconut water, you don't really have to think about any bacteria or whatever. It's always going to be clean. Even if they cut it open with a rusty knife, like, we never had any problems. And that brings me to a big topic that I was kind of scared about before coming to India, and that is hygiene. When you're eating in India, you're going to be eating with your right hand. And that's because your right hand is kind of supposed to be your clean hand that you're always going to be washing and eating with. And then the left hand is usually used for everything else you do with your body. In every store or restaurant, there's always going to be a washing basin. And I would definitely recommend to make use of that. Always wash at least your right hand. And then you should be rather safe when eating. It's going to be hygienic enough. In general, I found that if you're eating with your right hand, the locals are going to love it. They really enjoy when a foreigner tries to participate in their eating culture. So I would actually recommend learning to eat with your right hand. And also sometimes they will give you better service for that. So that's an extra plus. And personally, I really got to love eating with my right hand. By now, I feel like food just tastes better when I eat it with my right hand. Try it out. Maybe you like it too. Then especially noteworthy is the topic of toilet paper, because in a lot of places, there just is no toilet paper. And that is because India uses a system based on squirting water wherever you have to clean up after yourself. Usually when you go to a restroom and you do your big business, then there's going to be a squirt on the side of the toilet that you can use to clean up. Usually use your left hand to make sure there's nothing left. And you, of course, like clean it mostly with water. And then after you're done, you will go to the washing basin because, of course, you have to wash your hands properly. If you really don't want to do that, of course, you can always bring your own toilet paper. Just make sure not to throw your used toilet paper in the toilet. Because a lot of the pipes are just not made for it. Always put it in the bin. And that's all. That's how people do it. You're going to be fine. A point that I really dislike about India is that there's going to be trash everywhere. Like literally everywhere. You have to get used to it. There's just no way around it. People will gather trash and then burn it, like sometimes right on the street, sometimes right next to the street. So you're going to be walking through a lot of like plastic, burning smoke. It's just not nice. It's one of those extra sensations that you really wish you didn't go through. But that's how India is. You cannot change it. Make sure you're aware of it. And yeah, accept it. Another thing that I learned in India is that everything takes a lot of time. So expect a lot of waiting. When you travel by bus or by train, it's going to take many, many hours to get from one place to another place. And that is just because India is such a big country and it takes a long time to get from A to B. And just to put this into perspective, like if you really want to, you can spend like 2 days straight on a train traveling from one end of India to the other. And in general, there's going to be a lot of situations where you unnecessarily have to wait for a long time. For example, when you want to get a SIM card and you have to wait a long, long time in the Airtel office because people are just not working quickly. Yeah, that's just the thing. You have to get used to waiting. But at the same time, there's a lot happening around you. There's always something to watch. So enjoy the time that you have to wait. Let's talk about communication. If you speak English, usually you're going to be fine in India. Pretty much everyone speaks English, or even if they don't, they will definitely make an effort to understand you and to serve you the right meal or provide you whatever you're asking for. Yeah, you can trust in English. Similar to showing your interest in the local food, making at least a little bit of an effort and learning a couple of words in the local language is definitely going to make your experience much better because people are going to serve you better. They are going to have fun with you. They are going to make your time much more enjoyable. For example, in our first couple of months when we were staying in Tamil Nadu, we actually learned a couple of words of Tamil from our friends. And that helped us so much in communicating with people and making friends and just joking around with the waiters. And yeah, definitely all in all, it enhanced our experience. And I would recommend make the effort, learn like 10 words in the local language, and it's really going to help you out and make your experience better. Let's talk about the big topic of safety. So like I said in the beginning, I would say India is one of the safest countries in the entire world. There's really not that much to fear about it. The one thing that I really like about India is that there are no weapons. There's no bad people that you ever have to worry about. And in general, what makes India safe is that there's always going to be people around you that are looking, and kind of like the Indian version of CCTV. And because people are always watching, it's very, very unlikely that someone would ever do something bad to you, because there's always people who could help you. And there's always people who could punish a person for bad behavior. If you ever feel like you get into a bad situation, there's always going to be people around you who could help you in the worst case. So how do you stay safe with dogs and other animals for that matter? In the hundreds of interactions I had with dogs, and I mean petting a lot of dogs, a lot of street dogs everywhere throughout India, I have never had any single issue. Like I've never been bitten by a dog. Like there has been dogs like barking at me, but never really anything bad happened. So you don't really have to fear dogs much. Make sure not to pet dogs that don't seem chill, especially if you see that a dog is like stuck somewhere and you want to help it. Rather not do that. Let a local do it. because usually that's the only situation where dogs feel like they are like under pressure and they have to like protect themselves. Just try to not get into those situations. And I've actually seen that when dogs do not behave well, there's usually a lot of locals, like the local grandmas or like local aunties, that will take like a stone or like take some sand and just throw it at the dog. And usually the dogs actually get from that behavior that they are off and that they should take care of their own business. And most of the dogs actually do that. Pretty much the same thing goes for monkeys, with the only caveat that you should never pet monkeys. They are not as nice as the dogs. They might try to steal food every now and then. Otherwise, they go about their own day and you don't really have anything to do with them. As maybe an interesting note, let's talk about the topic of getting scammed, because of course, also us, my girlfriend and I, we have a story of getting scammed, or at least someone attempting to scam us, which should illustrate for you that you don't really have to fear being scammed that much in India. So our story was that we arrived back from our visa run to Sri Lanka. We arrived in Delhi airport and then took the metro to the New Delhi station, and it was like in the middle of the night already, and we still had to walk like, let's say 20-25 minutes to our hotel. Tourists that we are, we didn't really know where to go. So there was a man approaching us, and he was telling us like these crazy things about, oh, you cannot walk this way because there is a military barricade. There is political riots right now and you cannot go through there. And he gave us like all these reasons why we can't go through there. And he showed us actually like a fake newspaper article where it says like, you have to go to this certain tourist office and get like a special permit if you even want to get into the zone. And then of course he, as the helpful person who works for the train station, he said that he could provide us the ride towards this tourist information station. So he brought us even to a tuk-tuk and told the tuk-tuk driver where to bring us. And he told us that in the case that we are not able to get this permit to get to our hotel, then he could bring us to a different hotel where we could check in, and the hotel fee that we already paid for would be refunded. And that's when we got out of the tuk-tuk, because we knew that he was trying to scam us. We just walked exactly where he cut us off. We just walked through it. There was no police barricades. There was nothing. We just went to our hotel straight away. And I later learned that it's a typical scam, that they try to bring you to a different hotel where you didn't book before. They will get a certain commission for bringing you there. So what I learned from this story is that, yeah, there is going to be people trying to scam you in India, especially if you obviously look like you're a lost foreigner. And they will definitely talk to you. They will definitely try to convince you to book a different hotel or take a tuk-tuk or whatever. But in the end, you don't really have to be scared of them. Because first of all, like none of them will ever do anything violent to you. There's always going to be people around you that keep you safe from these things. And second of all, like even if they do scam you, and even if you do fall for their stories, it's not going to be a lot of money. Maybe $10, $20, and that's already the typical scenario. If you put it into perspective and be aware that it might happen, you don't really have to fear much. And in the end, my girlfriend and I, by now we can actually joke about this story. We actually enjoyed it to a certain extent. Like being in a play and like someone trying to make you believe in something that is not there. Take it with a bit of humor and you're going to be fine. And then my last point about traveling India is that prices pretty much never are fixed. There's always going to be room for negotiating. When you're buying things in a supermarket, there is going to be a so-called MRP, maximum retail price, printed already by the producer of the products on the outside of the product packaging. And that is important because if someone asks you to pay more, you know that they are trying to scam you and you just don't buy there. And that way you can actually trust the supermarket that it doesn't rip you off. Everywhere outside though, it will be possible to negotiate the price. I would suggest you should see as a game. And I know like some people are going to like that fact and some people absolutely don't. When you want to actually buy something, you should get used to going to as many vendors as you can and just ask all of them like, how much is this? Always ask how much. And even if you want to buy something and the price is kind of all right, you can still go out and ask several other vendors like for their prices and just compare. And I had a lot of situations where I went out of the store and then the owner came to me and gave me like his best price and he really, really wanted me to buy. So that's one way to get a good deal. And this not only applies to like small things that you buy. It can also apply to your rent. So for example, if you want to stay at a place for like a couple of weeks or maybe even a month and you're negotiating the rent, it might be a good idea to ask for the price and then actually walk away from the price. And I've had it happen to me that the landlord came after me and gave me like half the price that he was asking for before. And that way, even on rent, I got really good deals sometimes. In general, I would say see it as a game. Like see these price negotiations as a game. Try to forget your Western politeness. Politeness is a concept that doesn't really work in India, especially when it comes to negotiating prices. Take a step back, see it as a game, try having some fun, and you might actually catch a really good deal for something you want to buy. So there you have it. That's all my recommendations for you. If you travel India and you think I forgot something, then please write it down in the comments. I'm really happy to discuss all other ideas and recommendations with you in the comments. All right, please consider subscribing. It took a really long time to put this video together, and I wish you a wonderful time traveling India. Bye bye.